Good morning, everybody. What an appropriate song. You can't hide your lion eyes. Welcome this morning. Or if you're coming from online, good afternoon if you're in the UK. Or, right, John? Because they're 6 hours ahead of us. Or early in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning if you're somewhere in the world. Hope you had all a good rest, good breakfast this morning. Our first speaker is John Viney. John served as the chairman for the Watchtower Hospital Liaison Committee in Wales, the UK. John and his family were treated badly in the Jehovah's Witness religion. John was in the Witnesses for over 55 years with his wife. Stayed in the organization for 10 after John left. Watchtower had some consternation, but they left him alone and never disfellowshipped him. So John has since become a magistrate and a prison visitor, according to the government, as a public appointment. John, we look forward to hearing from you. Master John, thank you.
First of all, I think I better say thank you very much for having me, a foreigner. And as we used to do in the real conventions as Jehovah's Witnesses, I'd like to bring the love of the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses from the UK. Okay. Why are we so angry? That word anger and angry has been mentioned several times, hasn't it, at our convention? And we are angry, or perhaps it may be that some of you are not, so I should use a different pronoun and say, why am I so angry? Well, when as a Jehovah's Witness, and you may still think this now, we were taught that man is made in God's image. And the Jehovah's Witnesses would say it wasn't because of facial expressions that we're like God, but there are four main attributes that God has that he's imbued into mankind: love, wisdom, power, and justice. And if you think about those qualities, one particular quality is a really, really powerful motivating factor. And that's the last one, justice. We want justice. I want justice. And if someone doesn't get justice, or they feel they've been treated unjustly, look at the efforts that people make to try and get that readjusted. They start campaigns. They go to the media. They go to the courts. And so that's why many of us who feel that we've been treated unjustly do exactly that we try and get something done about it. In fact, what it does do, it makes us do things that we perhaps thought we would never have the power to do. Something like this, and I wonder if you would just play. moment.
You can't know.
I tell you why I'm concerned. Because my daughter was abused by an elder. Because my daughter was abused by an elder, and he's in prison for 14 years now. All I want you to ask is a simple question. I'll wait for you to come back. But would you mind having a quick chat, sir? It's a very quick question. Okay, all right. Oh, now we are standing by the carts. So this is very interesting. The carts have been abandoned, and it looks like I and my cameraman, who looks very smart, we are now actually in charge of the carts. Now, what are we going to do if someone says, "Can we have a magazine, please? We're in trouble." Let's see what they do. I think we may need to go across the road and talk to someone maybe behind the fence. Okay. Excuse me, gentlemen. I know that you're on duty at the assembly, so I'm not going to keep you. Can I ask you, which may be an odd question, what's the difference between a Jehovah's Witness and a professed Jehovah's Witness? And it's a serious question.
We're not going to engage in a conversation with you, I'm afraid.
I just tell you why I asked. In last Sunday's Watchtower, when it said Jehovah's Witnesses, some have abused children, it says they're only professed Jehovah's Witnesses that have abused children, and not Jehovah's Witnesses.
We're not going to engage in a conversation.
I just wondered, because you're on duty, you've got to watch for professed Jehovah's Witnesses getting in, as opposed to Jehovah's Witnesses. Have you had training as to what's the difference between a professed Jehovah's Witness and a Jehovah's Witness? And it's a very serious question.
We're not engaging in a conversation with you, sorry.
Okay. So you've not had any training?
We're not going to engage in a conversation with you.
Okay. You don't think it's a very serious subject to discuss?
We're not going to engage in a
Okay, well, I respect that. Thank you very much. All right. I think we'll better move on. Security are not sure the difference between a professed Jehovah's Witness, as it says here, and a Jehovah's Witness. And if it's professed Jehovah's Witnesses that are abusing children, they're going to be letting people in who are actually child abusers. Let's go down to the carts at the bottom. Is that okay? Thank you. We'll have a talk to this young lady, if that's okay. Hello, sir. I know that you're busy in the carts. Well, you've abandoned the carts. So we'll again, this is another cart. We'll take over the cart. And if anyone wants to come up for a magazine or a track, we'll certainly help out. Are you, honestly, gentlemen, cannot tell me the difference between a professional and you don't mind. That's all we're asking. Sorry to spoil the entertainment, but we're going to come out of that. That was my district convention. I was a fairly well-known and well-used elder and gave talks at that district convention. My daughter, my oldest daughter, was sexually abused by an elder in our congregation. And I'll come on to that in a little while to tell a little bit more about our personal circumstances. But I still can't believe that I actually went to do that. But the point I was making about when someone felt they've been treated unjustly, it can move you to do things that you didn't think you had the power to do. What I did, I went to that convention with this magazine. Now, you would think that if a Jehovah's Witness goes to a convention with a Watchtower magazine, there's not much of a problem with that. But what I was doing was, and I'll just briefly show you this. There had been a little point in here that this is the nearest that I think Jehovah's Witnesses as an organization have ever come to saying we have had some problems. They just don't normally admit it. But in paragraph 3, it said, in addition, some professing to be a part of the congregation have succumbed to perverted fleshly desires and have sexually abused children. Now, So no Jehovah's Witness has ever sexually abused a child, only those who are professing to be. Elders, ministerial servants, pioneers, Bethelites, they are Jehovah's Witnesses. And if a Catholic priest, for instance, molests a child, are they just a professed Catholic priest? No, they're a Catholic priest who has done wrong. If an Anglican bishop or clergyman abuses a child, they're not a professed Anglican priest. They are a priest who has done wrong. If a Jehovah's Witness touches a child, they're a Jehovah's Witness who's done wrong, not just a professed one, and they've distanced themselves from it. So I make that point because that got me angry enough, although I kept my calm, and I was very, hopefully very professional about it. And we had sometimes some humor in there as well. I thought about the scriptures, the Bible, and Jesus actually gave an example of how someone who was unjustly treated went to great efforts. Now, I didn't think I would ever be quoting a Bible verse at a convention ever again, but I won't read it. But in Luke 18, do you remember the parable of the persistent widow? She didn't get justice, so she goes to the judge, and what does she say? Give me justice. I want justice. And the judge doesn't do it at first, so she says, I want justice. And eventually, because of her persistence, the person gets justice. So that's why some of us have been persistent in going to the media, in going to the courts and taking Watchtower to court, as we have in the past, to try and get things changed, to get things done. Now, I recognize not everybody does that. I have been absolutely amazed at listening to some of your stories, some of your life experiences. And we have people here in the audience today who have gone to Kingdom Halls and have gone to assemblies and conventions and held up cards to identify the fact that they are unhappy with the situation. Now, I know not everyone wants to do that, and not everybody can do that. I am reminded of a convention that I went to. I've only ever done it twice, that and this other one in London. We went down to the London Excel, and there were about 60 or 70 ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that came, and it was all very highly organized. And my two of my daughters came, including the one that had been abused. The elder that had abused her we'd gone through the criminal justice system, and he had been sentenced to prison. So she had on a cardboard board, she had all the newspaper articles about this elder Jehovah's Witness. So it was big news in Wales. And she was holding it up with others. And I, wearing a suit and a tie, stepped back, and I left the compound where the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses were, and I came into the area where the Jehovah's Witnesses were. And I was just looking and thinking how proud I was of my daughter and my wife and my other family members and all the rest. And because I was looking that way, a sister, a Jehovah's Witness sister, said to me, "It's all lies, love. It's all lies." And I just turned very politely to her and quietly said, "Do you know how I know that it's not all lies? Because that's my daughter there holding up the newspaper articles about the elder that abused her, and he's in prison for 14 years. Get away, get away. She said, get away. And she didn't want to hear, can't hear that somebody who was an elder, not a professed Jehovah's Witness, but a Jehovah's Witness, has abused somebody. I wonder if I could just get you, Scott, to play the next little thing that I was involved in. Watching much of this. Thank you. I think that mask definitely improved my look. I should say that that wasn't my idea. That was a company that I think of America-based, Vice. It was a news channel that came over. And I was so pleased that at the moment that's had 2.6 million hits where I talk about being a Jehovah's Witness and what happened to my family. So doing things like that because we are angry with what happened to us, hopefully can warn other people before they become involved in the Jehovah's Witness, which I now call a cult. So let me tell you a bit about myself. I was 5 years old when my mum and dad became Jehovah's Witnesses. I have two sisters. I moved to Wales when I was 17. I left school at 15 when that was the 1967 was the last time you could leave school at 15, but Armageddon was coming, and I got baptized in 1967, pioneered for 8 years. I met my wife, and I must say that's the best thing that's ever happened as a Jehovah's Witness was that I've met my wife. And I think if she's worked the link out, she might be watching now back home in Wales. And we've been married this month 53 years, so that's a success. I have 3 children. When my oldest daughter was about 15, she started cutting her arms and her wrists with razor blades. And you can just imagine, we're thinking, what on earth is going on here? And to cut a long story short, we found out that she had been being abused by an elder in the congregation. He was a popular elder. She was called a liar, as you normally happened. Oh, brother so-and-so, you would never do that. So then she got disfellowshipped because she didn't want to have anything to do with Jehovah's Witnesses and got a worldly boyfriend. Now, I mentioned I was a very prominent elder, and by this time I was the chairman of the hospital liaison committee. As a dad, I'm trying to help my daughter, who is in severe emotional difficulty. But as an elder, I've got to set the lead and shun my daughter. Then my second daughter got disfellowshipped. So I now have 2 daughters who were disfellowshipped. And for 10 years, we tried and did shun them. But I kept getting into trouble because I saw them from afar and saw them in difficulty. So I would help them as a dad. Then I'd get a visit from elders saying, you've been seen with your daughter. And I'd have to say, well, yeah, she's collapsed at home and she's doing something. We felt we needed to take her to the hospital. Oh, that's okay then. And you had to keep giving excuses as to why you needed to deal with your shunned daughter. Eventually, she decided to take Watchtower to court. And that is what she did. We found out there were another 3 abuse victims by the same elder, including 1 rape of a sister. And so it went to criminal court, and he received, as we said, 14 years. When my daughter, first of all, came forward, she was, I think, 16. Only a month after that is when this other sister came forward who had been raped and said something. The elders said, oh, that's a shame because she's a child and she's an adult. Otherwise, it would have been 2 witnesses, but we can't accept them as 2 witnesses. So the congregation didn't deal with it because they didn't have 2 witnesses. And you had a lady claiming to be raped. The rape case eventually also went to the courts. And as I say, that was part of his 14-year sentence. Going back to this professed Jehovah's Witness, I wanted to try and work out, when did my daughter's abuser become a professed one from a real one? So he was born into it, became a pioneer, gave talks, did everything you're supposed to do, became a ministerial servant, then became an elder. So that's not a professed Jehovah's Witness. Then he commits these sins, as the Watchtower call them. Then he goes to prison. While in prison, he's visited by Jehovah's Witnesses to encourage him. And they say to him, if you do preaching in the prison, don't forget to count your hours, because we want to include them with the local congregation's preaching hours. So did he stop being a Jehovah's Witness? So this idea that it's only professed Jehovah's Witnesses are the ones that abuse children is obviously not right. I have been involved with quite a few court cases, appeal court cases, where Jehovah's Witnesses have needed, someone who's an ex-Jehovah's Witness has needed what might be called an expert witness. And because I've been involved in it and I've been a Jehovah's Witness forever, I've been used. I went to the appeal court in London, and on one occasion, I had to give evidence to say what the Jehovah's Witnesses believe. And so obviously, very honestly, I told them about the no birthdays, Christmas, Halloween, Mother's Day, Father's Day, any sort of holiday with pagan implications. And also said that we had to be very careful with worldly friends and worldly relatives. When I had finished, the Bethel speaker got on the stand and completely said that I had not represented Jehovah's Witnesses truly. And he gave an example. He said, for instance, Judge, my brother's a Catholic. I was his best man and went to the Catholic Church, and I was his best man in the Catholic Church. Now, I can tell you that as an elder, and I know there are many ex-elders here, if you had gone to the Catholic Church and taken part in a wedding, you would have been completely cut off. So Jehovah's Witnesses tell lies, you might be surprised to know. In another case I went to, I had to explain about what had happened to my daughter. And I recounted the meeting that we had as a dad and my daughter went to the Kingdom Hall, two elders who happen to be both named Jones, but they're not related. There's a lot of Joneses in Wales. And we had the abuser and his wife. So we're in the Kingdom Hall, the abuser and his wife, myself and my daughter, and the two elders. And this is like what's called an investigating committee to see if there's any substance. When the abuser did not agree or didn't say anything about it, he left. One of the elders surprisingly said to us, do you know what? I wanted to punch him on the nose. He was so arrogant, which you don't normally find elders saying things like that. So that stayed in our mind. 28 years later, just a couple of years ago, in the High Court in London, those two Jones elders appeared for Watchtower and said that that meeting didn't happen. So the extent of lying by Jehovah's Witnesses is very, very bad. And so that's another reason why we are angry, and rightly so. And if we feel we can and we want to, we can speak out about what's going on. Now, I'm not quite sure how much time I've got. I'll just very briefly tell you about my time on the Hospital Liaison Committee. It's been said a few times in the convention that it's not all bad. There are some nice people and some nice experiences. And I can tell you my 15 years as chairman of the Hospital Liaison Committee was one of those very good times. Yes, it was harrowing. Yes, we had to go to attend difficult situations. I think some of you may have heard tales of hospital liaison committees rushing in and taking over and calling the doctors bad things. I can assure you that isn't how we acted anyway, even if it may have happened somewhere else. We found the doctors to be the most encouraging and friendly and helpful. And what we would do is we'd say, doctor, you're the expert. What we don't want is blood or blood products. But if you can do anything to help this individual, we would like you to do so. So the Watchtower decided that rather than be on the back foot all the time, we were always attending when someone has been ill and either being traumatized by being given blood. The Watchtower Society decided to go on the front foot and to form hospital liaison committees that would go for two reasons. They would go to assist Jehovah's Witnesses when in difficulty, but before there was a difficulty, we were encouraged to go and make appointments with doctors, talk to the doctors, take medical articles to doctors of how their colleagues had done things without blood, and they did. At the time, using and having someone else's blood was not a very good idea anyway. And I can tell you right now in the UK, there are 18,000 cases against the government for people who had haemophiliacs, who had factor VIII that was contaminated. So it's not always a good idea to have somebody else's blood anyway. That time that I spent, I really enjoyed, because I viewed it as saving my brother's lives by getting in advance doctors to agree to use non-blood medical management, by using anesthetic techniques that would avoid losing blood so that you didn't need a blood transfusion. And I was able to travel extensively over Europe, going to conferences and meeting doctors, world-renowned doctors, many of whom were trying their best not to use blood anyway, but not for religious reasons. One of the most, perhaps the best experience in my life as a hospital liaison committee, and I'll finish up with this, I was giving a lecture to a group of doctors in a large auditorium in Newport in South Wales. And we were talking about using the cell saver machine. It's what they called intraoperative cell salvage. It's a machine that as you're being operated on, it's a bit like a vacuum cleaner. It sucks up any of the blood that you've spilled in your body, takes it around, cleans it, reoxygenates it, and puts it back in you. So it's your own blood going back in. And we were saying how these machines can save lives. And an anesthesiologist in the audience put his hand up and said, why don't you people buy these machines and donate them so we've got them? We haven't got these machines. And afterwards, over a coffee, we had invited the circuit overseer. And we said, he's got a point. Is there a chance, do you think, we would be allowed to raise money to buy machines like that, separate from our religious Watchtower Society, so that we could donate these machines? I think they were about $15,000 each at the time. And we set up a cell saver committee. And from that point, money came pouring in for these machines in Britain. It was overwhelming. So it started in South Wales, which I'm very proud of, but then it progressed and progressed, so that eventually in many, many hospitals in the UK, these machines were being used and saving lives. And I had an email not long ago from an ex-Jehovah's Witness saying, thank you very much for doing that, because some Jehovah's Witnesses that were saved are now ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. So imagine that we've got brothers and sisters now alive because those cell saver machines were there. The first donation that was ever made to that cell saver committee, the first donation, I'll never forget it. I had a telephone call just days after it was announced, and it was a non-Jehovah's Witness. I don't know how this lady had got the information. I don't know. She said, and she was crying on the phone, and she said, I understand you people are doing, you've got some machines that can stop people having a blood transfusion. And I said, well, we hope that's the case. I'd like to make a donation. She said, I've just had a blood transfusion and I'm worried sick what's going to happen. So can I make a donation? So it wasn't all bad. And a lot of the things that we did as a hospital liaison committee have proved to be beneficial. I'm pleased to tell you that all of my family, everybody I love, my wife, my mother, who's since passed away, my one sister, or all her family, my 3 daughters, my 6 grandchildren, and my 6 great-grandchildren are all out. Now, I know that's not the case with many of you, and that my heart goes out to you. All I would like to say in conclusion is, don't give up. You don't know what's going to happen with your loved ones. My wife remained a Jehovah's Witness for 10 years after me. And I just took her to the meetings, picked her up, took her until she saw one of the governing body presentations and knew it was a lie and said, I'm not going anymore. So don't give up. You don't know that your family members won't turn around and will be reunited with you. Thank you very much for the invitation to come and speak.
Thank you, John. I never get tired of hearing such wonderful, wonderful stories. John, you've done such wonderful work. You've saved a lot of people, and it's just amazing. You're an inspiration. Our next speaker is a former Jehovah's Witness. Romy Maple was a young Jehovah's Witness and a victim of child sex abuse within the Watchtower organization. Romy appeared in the A&E network in 2018 called Cults and Extreme Beliefs. And the program embarked on a journey to uncover what she pleas for justice were systematically ignored by top members of the Watchtower organization. Romy has been actively engaged in helping people to enjoy their freedom after leaving. Oh, yes.
The film crew wants to get her mic'd up.
Okay.
So we have a 5-minute video.
From someone else.
Oh, okay. I guess they want to film Romy, so they're micing her up and getting her ready. In the meantime, we have a video presentation for you.
Bear with us.
Technical difficulties, please stand by.
Well, we got a little delay here. What it is, folks, as I was saying yesterday, we have a major film company here, and they are filming this convention. It's a company from Spain, and you met them. You see them all over. It's a 12-person crew, and they've been here for the last week. Well, they actually came last Monday, and they've been filming all around Tewksbury. They've been filming people coming into the convention. So what we have is they want to have Romy. Romy, of course, is a pretty high-profile ex-Jehovah's Witness. She's been featured in the A&E program on television. Romy spent a lot of time with that company as they made it. In fact, it's an excellent actor. You'll see little excerpts of it here today. But the film company, and we do understand, wanted to get her speaking to some degree and walking up on the stage. So we'll give them a little time to do that. But what I think is really good, friends, they're trying to put this film on Netflix. Now, I mean, people watch Netflix, right? How many people here watch Netflix? Here we go. Okay. Yeah. Everyone just about watches Netflix. This could be, I'm not saying for sure, but this could be one of the best, if not the best, ex-Jehovah's Witness movie ever. I mean, exposing the Watchtower. So the way that I look at it, we're willing to take a little extra time here and do that. Now, I know you're all patient, but the way that I look at it, you know, we're reaching right now upwards maybe 1,000 people online and all those people watching in. But what I wanted to say is it's so important to have this movie that they could reach 10, 12, 15 million. So it's very important we take and give them the time to do it right. And I was talking to the director yesterday, and they have all the big wheels from this company doing the equipment they have. I mean, they could fill a big U-Haul truck with it. You can't believe what they've got. But I was talking to the director yesterday, and he was telling me how difficult it is to make a movie. I mean, you know, we all think, oh man, that must be easy. Just get a camera and make a movie. He says it's not that easy. And what it is you have to take so many shots. I mean, they're all over the place. They had cameras going everywhere yesterday when we were setting up. They wanted to show our truck. We have a big U-Haul truck that I rented, and I got a 20-foot banner on the side of it that says, "What are Jehovah's Witnesses hiding behind?" And I had it parked out there. They made me move it. They made me move it. They didn't like it out there. They said it might be too far. It might be a little controversial. But anyways, the truck is out back if you want to see it too much. It's out the big banner. But you know, I put some signs up advertising the convention. I put a bunch of signs up in southern New Hampshire and all around the whole area. And I got a number of calls from people. So some of them were, they weren't ex-witnesses, but they agreed with the sign. They just wanted to call up and say they're relatives. A number of people called me and said they're relatives of Jehovah's Witnesses. And how do we speak to them? I says, well, it's very difficult, very, very difficult to speak to a Jehovah's Witness. But they were saying that they act strange. They're not like normal. I mean, they're not bad. I'm not saying Jehovah's Witnesses are bad people, but they are under some type of mind control that you'll hear tonight. You'll hear tonight. So relatives, you know, even though they're not Jehovah's Witnesses, they have been touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower. So they also have been involved with this. For example, my father. My father never became one of Jehovah's Witnesses. My mother was a loyal witness. But, you know, come Christmas time, you know, he'd want to celebrate Christmas. But my mother, you know, she didn't give him a real hard time, but I could tell she didn't like it. And she didn't like a lot of things. In fact, I can remember his name was Warren, and my mother's name was Doris. And I can remember so many times growing up as a little kid, Warren, if you don't believe in the Jehovah's Witness organization, you're going to die at Armageddon. So you're hearing this as you're growing up as a kid. And I can even remember my mother saying to me as a little kid, Ricky, that's what you call me, Ricky. She says, Ricky, you know, if you don't do things Jehovah likes, you're going to get hit with a 15-pound hailstone. I mean, did you want to hear that type of stuff? I mean, this today, now back then, I mean, people could put up with it. I don't think it affected me too much. But you wouldn't say that to kids today, would you? You wouldn't say that at all. It wouldn't be necessary. In fact, there's all kinds of protective rights for children. You probably go to jail, say something like that. But anyways, getting back to those signs, some Watchtower operatives, that is people who were inside the Watchtower, they hate the idea that we are here today. It's really bothering them because when you leave the Jehovah's Witness religion, you're supposed to be according to them, and this is right in their writings. When you leave the Jehovah's Witness religion, they say you return to the vomit. That's right on the Watchtower publications. And then they say, and then they also say that when you leave, you now become an agent of Satan, the devil. And I mean, even though they believe it, I've heard some say that the disgusting thing standing in the holy place. But they were off base saying that. That's not the apostates to leave, so to speak. But they make up all of these vile terms for us who leave. But I'm glad that Satan kicked me out of the organization back in 2005. And from that time onward, I said, you know something, I wasn't mad. In fact, I didn't mind being kicked out. I was looking for my letter in the mail, because what they do, as we all know, you go to the Judicial Committee, and you know what's really strange, and it really kind of bothered me, and I know it bothers my good friend Dick Borghi too. He brings up a lot on the radio programs we do. What's really strange, they're supposed to be a Christian organization. So you have this Judicial Committee hearing that if you sin in the Watchtower. Now, my charge was apostasy. Apostasy is the worst charge that you could possibly commit. That's even worse than murder. It's worse than pedophilia. Pedophiles and murderers are treated better than a person that's an apostate. As a matter of fact, in 1952, November 1st, I believe it was November 1st, Watchtower, they talked about if the laws of the land permitted, they could kill an apostate. Can you imagine things like that? I took that article to a congressman right here in Massachusetts, Congressman Lynch. I spent 3.5 hours with him in Boston at his office. He was very, very interested. That was back in 2006. I went there. And he spent 3.5 hours. He says, let me see those watchtowers. Where does it say that they'd kill an apostate? So I showed it to him. He had a copying machine here. He made a copy of it. He says, look at it. He says, Rick, he says, this is what I'm going to do. Can you get some other people to testify the damage that the Watchtower has done to them? I says, yes, I can do it. He says, what to do? He says, get some summaries of people who've been touched by the tentacles. He didn't say that, but that's when you guys get it right. So anyways, I got a few people, wrote up summaries. He says, you get those, we'll bring you down to Washington. We'll bring you down, we're gonna have a congressional hearing about the Watchtower. I mean, I went out of there flying. I was hitting my head on the doorpost on the way out. I says, man, we're making a difference. We're gonna get some action. We're gonna get some traction. So I got a hold of the people, write the summaries. We're going down to Washington for a congressional hearing. So anyways, it never happened. They put the kibosh to it. Now you're gonna hear a man tonight, and he's gonna tell you how entwined in the government the Jehovah's Witness organization is. He's gonna tell you one time they were even part of a scheme that was being worked out by the government. His name is Fritz Springmeier. He speaks tonight at 7:00. Now, a lot of people, they say, wait a minute, I don't know, I believe all of this. Well, he wrote a number of books, and I'll tell you what, one of his books is called The Bloodlines of the Illuminati. Now, I know people online, they're listening in, they're saying, well, Rick, Fritz, they have an issue. They have an issue sometimes with some of the subjects that we bring up here on the 6 screens. But my former wife, when we first started this whole little network, we said we want to hear everything there is to know about the Watchtower. Now, I don't agree with everything, but I want to hear the satanic ritual abuse. I want to hear about the subliminal imagery that many of you have seen in Watchtower publications. I want to hear everything from the false prophecies of the Watchtower to the occult connection in the Watchtower. I want to hear everything, so everybody has a voice when they call into our program. And sometimes I don't believe what some of the people saying. And I'll tell you what, we had a woman, and she's going to be speaking here today, Stephanie Carson. She's going to be speaking today. You ready, Norman?
We're ready for Romy, and if you can introduce her.
Okay, good. Yeah. I guess we're ready for Romy. If I get another chance, I'll finish that story. Yes, Delva. Oh, okay, we're going to play the video first. Do I say the announcement first, Norman? In other words, hold on 1 second. Okay, now the first
We're
thing.
going to play the 5-minute video, throwback to the Warwick protests. from Kimberly.
Oh,
And
okay,
then Romy will come.
okay. So then we have the Romy film come on after Kimberly?
Yes,
So it's all automatic.
or yes, it's all automatic.
It's all, you guys got it all
It'll
worked
just-
out.
After the video, then Romy will be ready.
Okay, well, we have a lady here, Kimberly. Raise your hand, Kimberly. There's Kimberly. Now, I met Kimberly up in Warwick, New York. That's the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witness. We did up in 2017, we did a protest up there. And we had a good time, right? It was really good. So anyways, we want to play a clip of that protest. Go ahead.
Just on my way to the demonstration on November 5th, 2017, Warwick, New York, against the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses. And I'm thinking as I drive along that, I remember that they told you that when you're having your Bible study, you're coming into the organization and you're getting prepared maybe for baptism, that you are receiving accurate knowledge. And I was thinking, wow, that is so far from the truth. You are not getting accurate knowledge. You are not being equipped to make an informed choice for baptism, for a lifelong contract with that organization. They give you very limited information. It's very controlled. And of course, with the bite model from Stephen Hassan, the information control is very evident. Through the book studies, it's very strategic in how they have their Bible studies and very full of course, the mind control. Hence why they don't just use the Bible, they use their publications. But anyway, as far as that informed choice, you really don't have that. And then once you're baptized and you're in the organization, you feel like you don't have a choice. If for some reason you start to feel like you want to leave, you're told that you don't have that choice. You don't have a free will. You can't decide for yourself whether to stay or go, because otherwise you're not going to survive Armageddon. You're going to die. And there's another factor of a cult is that fear mongering. But I want to say that as a human being, you always have a choice. Even the United Nations, through their Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 18, explains that, saying, which, by the way, the Organization of Jehovah's Witnesses still subscribe to the United Nations through Europe and maybe even here, I don't know. But this article it states that humans have their right to leave their religion, and they should not have to suffer any consequences because of that choice. Well, the governing body feel that they are above that and don't have to follow that. They use emotional blackmail to keep people within the confines of the organization. So if they're the true religion, why do they need to do that? I don't know. They have to exercise undue influence or extreme control over their members in order to keep them in. Because once people find out the truth, you really don't want to stay. The only reason that you stay is because of the family that is still in, that haven't been convinced that it's a cult. So that informed choice, you don't really have an informed choice. But you can take that right back. You can decide for yourself that you're going to educate yourself, you're going to do your research, and you're going to find out, you're going to inform yourself of what your choices are. You always have a choice. You may have consequences by leaving, maybe by getting disfellowshipped or losing family and friends, but you'll gain so much more in the long run. But you always have a choice. And that whole accurate knowledge thing is not true. It's only on a need to know basis for the rank and file. I'm sure we've heard that term many times, a need to know basis. Basically, that gives them permission to keep things from its members. And there's a lot that the members do not know. And once you start doing research, you're gonna find that out. Don't be afraid. Don't feel like it's a sin. I remember I felt so sorry, so guilty for going outside of the organization and looking on the internet. Or I felt guilty for finding the elders manual and reading that. I thought, oh, I don't have a right to look at that. And Jehovah must be really upset with me. That's all the mind conditioning that the organization puts you under. That micromanaging of your thoughts, that's all by design to keep you in check. It's okay to look into information about anything. It makes sense that you would research something that has such an effect on your life. So informed choice, that's what I'm hoping to bring out today, that people have the right to inform themselves and to make choices. It's a basic human right. So I'm looking forward again to seeing everyone there, meeting people, and adding my voice to the many to bring down the watchtower. See you there.
Well, that was something else, Kimberly. Well, you're quite a trooper, I'll tell you that. And an activist too. You want that word to get out, don't you? Well, yeah, good deal. Well, see, that's what we got. You know what interesting though is a lot of people, I don't blame them. They leave the watchtower and they say, that's it. I've had enough. I'm gone. I don't ever want to talk about it again. But then there's many like us here. We can't get it out of our head for some reason. And we want to talk about it. We want to warn other people about it. So I really know that we're all in good company here because we've all, as we say, have been touched by the tentacles of Watchtower. Now we have a lady coming up here next. She's a former Jehovah's Witness. I met Romy a few years back. We have a network on YouTube and Facebook. And Romy had a program, Romy Live, we called it. And so that was good. She participated for a good part of the year and having programs. In fact, they were some of the most listened to programs that we had on the 6 screens. She made a real difference. And a lot of people were commenting and saying, how do we get Romy's email? But I'll tell you what, she did something bigger than the 6 screens. She was on A&E Network. Now, we all watch that, right? It's a lot of good programs on there. So Romy spent a good part of time filming a movie with him, and she, of course, was a star of the movie. And she really made a big difference in the ex-witness world. We were so happy. We were so happy to see the word getting out. And so she was one of the first. She was one of the first to step out and say, hey, I am going to let people know. And I can still remember, you'll see parts of the clips here. But my favorite part of the movie, I'm not going to give it away, was at the very end. That was the best part of the movie. I think she should get an Academy Award for that. I'm serious. She did a great job. So I'm going to introduce Romy. So let's do that.
Hi, welcome. Clunk. Need my fan. So, I'm Romy Maple, and I was featured on A&E television 2018. What a journey. It's amazing to be in front of so many amazing survivors. I listen to people talk, and it's a miracle. It's an, thank you. That's fine, thank you. It's an absolute miracle. The courage it took to walk away from something so awful. That indoctrination style. If you do some research on indoctrination and really understand how powerful indoctrination is. I always felt in my life growing up as a little girl. Did anybody out there see the documentary Cults and Extreme Beliefs? Did anybody see it? Yeah, a few of you. It's on 9 channels globally. It's a little overwhelming because I'm just like you. I'm a survivor. I wanted to do something bigger. I wanted to help people come out and to find their way outside of a lie. A bad lie. Anyways, do you want to play the first little part of the A&E clip? It's the very first one, I think, outside of this. I'm going to play that first. Take your time. We have 4 little clips, I think, that we pulled that I'd just like to share with those that didn't get to see it. It's called Cults and Extreme Beliefs. It's on A&E television. You can actually see it on Prime and all the major channels. This was in 2018. Go back to the very beginning of the movie. And I'll tell you when to stop. I think, Rick, did you send that to them? Okay. You got it.
And thousands of hours knocking on strangers' doors to bring them in. But they won't come to this gate and talk to me. Would one of them be willing to talk to me if I wait?
What would you say to people watching this right now?
I just want people to know this really is going on in here.
So, I'm still here. I actually didn't know if I'd still be here after doing that. I was always so afraid of all the fear tactics and all those things. So when I decided to do this program with A&E, in my heart, I felt like I had to do it for myself, for my own healing, and for a voice for anybody else out there that was afraid to come forward. I didn't know if they'd kill me. I didn't know if someone would come after me. I didn't know, but it was worth it. Because my whole entire life has changed because of it. Anyways, moving forward, I wrote a little bit of, yes. This is just some of the things that a lot of people reach out to me. I get messages all the time from people all over the world, and not just sex witnesses. I've learned that there's a lot of the same similarities in a lot of different indoctrinations, not just Jehovah's Witnesses. I've learned a lot about that. But one of the things that I'm noticing is that the power of healing together through such confusion, moving up and out and beyond something so ugly that so many of us had no control of. I was born and raised 4 generations. I don't know about all of you out there, but I was 4 generations deep. My mom, and her mom, so it was all women deep, no men. So that deep, deep structure of the women in my family to be able to come out and break the cycle was really hard. I'm going to actually tell you how that happened. My mother, if for those that, it does talk a little bit about it in the movie, in the show, but my mother battled her whole life with different types of illnesses. And I always wanted out. Ever since I was a little girl, 5 years old, I knew it was wicked. I was not much of a follower. I was more of a leader. And I just remember always wanting something better. I knew it was wrong. And I knew a lot of young ones that were being hurt like me. And I just went on this mission to be a voice, no matter what it took. And so many of you are doing the same thing, being a voice to make change, to come out of this and be better. My mother died because she needed a blood transfusion. The last thing she said to me was, "It's do it Jehovah's way." And she died because she needed blood. She was 59. She was the love of my life. There was a lot of guilt in me because I loved her so much, but her death freed me to do my work. I couldn't get out and truly do my work the way I wanted to with her here. So with her dedication to being Jehovah's Witness and not taking blood, I lost her. So I went through a lot of really weird feelings because I loved her so much and I missed her. But that was like the last thing. I was able to leave everybody, my family, my friends, everybody. And I took my daughter like Wonder Woman, and I always say this, and I light the city behind me, and I walked forward, just her and I, to start something brand new because it felt better. You know the difference. What it feels like to feel good, to have true peace in yourself, to be yourself. And you know the difference in what it feels like to be controlled. You know that feeling of being controlled when something doesn't feel right. So that's my job, is I get to stand up and throw a fit when I think something doesn't feel right. Because I want everybody to rise above this together, to walk out of this and to know it's not your fault. A lot of us were born and raised. I had no choice other than I knew it was wrong. How many of you knew it was wicked, knew something was wrong when you were little? And you stayed. Why'd you stay? Is there a microphone? Is there a microphone? Can you guys tell me why you stayed out here? I would like to know why. Yes, perfect. This is really, really big to me. This is huge, a part of the indoctrination. We'll have a few people answer that. I'd love to hear your answers on it. We're getting batteries.
It was me. I don't need a microphone. I think my voice is plenty loud. What do you Oh, okay. Why did a microphone? The reason why I stayed is because I had no choice. I didn't know where to go. I was a little boy, innocent, lost, lonely.
Yeah.
The heart of a dove. I had nowhere to go. I didn't know where to go at all. So I stayed. But I'm so glad I stayed. I'm so glad I suffered. It's a beautiful thing. And we've all come out alive.
Yes, yes. When did you get out? When did you actually have the courage to finally make that stand for
When
yourself?
I was from the age of majority, I turned 18 right out of high school, and I signed on the dotted line for the Air Force, and I got
Proud of
the
you.
heck out of Dodge. And I got the heck out of Dodge.
I'm so proud of you. How's it feel? How's it feel?
Glory be to God. I was in the Air Force.
Yeah.
I retired from the Air Force.
Nice.
24 years. I bleed. That's why I'm working.
Good for you. Thank you for sharing with us. Love the inspiration. Anybody else?
The reason I say is because I was my wife, I was afraid of losing my life. Because it was breast. Mostly afraid of losing my life. And I almost did because I tried to take it as long as I could. And eventually said, I just could not take it well enough. And she could see it and we talked and it caused a lot of problems. Eventually, fortunately, she saw it too. And so we still together, stronger than we been.
Good for you.
But I know it doesn't work for a lot of people.
Not always. I'm proud of you though. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. One more. One more.
I'm sorry, Romy, I'm one of the moms that raised my 5 children. But I did allow them when they were teenagers to make their own choice. And they did left. Nothing like what happened to you happened to my kids. But I do have one child that's very angry at me still. She's 43. And she's angry that I did those.
I'm still proud of you though, because here you are and you're out. So nice job. So I'm going to move forward. This hour goes by fast. I got so much to say. These stories to each other are, to me, what fires us as a group. Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, whatever you want to call it, we're people. And I'm just really proud of all of you. It's not easy to do. It's not easy to lose your family, your kids, your mate. I've always felt, and I might be stepping out on a weird spot right now, but I'm going to say it because I'm just like that. It feels demonic to me. I don't know how you can separate the love of a child and their parent. And I know this is deep. I know this isn't the truth. This is a horrible lie. And our poor families that have suffered, right? But we're out now and we're trying to make a difference. We're trying to change it. That's all we can do, is try to change it and be better people. And forgive ourselves. I'm going to move into a little bit. Can you play that second part of On Annie, please?
In the Jehovah's Witness religion, men are the ones put in the leadership of the congregations. Women are not allowed to take any part. So anytime you have an issue or you want to come forth with anything, you go into a room with a group of men, the elders.
No women are allowed to have any kind of ranking position. Women can never be an elder. And so the whole organization is controlled from the top all the way down to local congregations by male elders.
They're the ones that do the judicial decisions based on anything that happens to you want to talk about. They take you in a room and they talk to you.
If you have any problem about anything, you go to the elder. You would never go to an outside counsel. You would never go to a therapist. You would never go to the police. You would never talk to someone outside the organization.
I thought they were supposed to be a safe place. And what I've learned is they're not a safe place to go to.
Does the church always report allegations of
Go ahead and finish. I apologize. Keep going. Sorry.
child abuse to police? No.
Thank you. I think that's good. Thank you. What does that breed? Do you see that? Who's gone through something like that? Not being heard, not being seen. What does that breed? Is there anybody out there that would be willing to share a little bit about that, not being seen or heard, and what that did? Is there anybody that's got a little bit of a story about that? I know it's not just me. Over here. Batteries.
You know, Romy, I really thought that the elders were gonna help me. I really did. I thought, they can help me, this, all these problems are gonna work out. You're gonna shepherd me and help me. What? It was just not the case at all. They had already decided before I walked in the door what they were gonna say, what they were gonna do. And that was to fellowship me. They didn't want to help me. That wasn't even in their playbook. It's not in the elders manual.
Yeah.
If you're a problem, they want to get rid of you and they're done.
How are you feeling now?
Oh, my life is so much better. I had no idea. My husband divorced me. I thought my life was ending. But it's not. It's so much better now. And I had no clue. So once you leave, it takes a little bit of time and a little bit of effort, but you get it.
I'm proud of you. Thanks for sharing. Love that. One more, please.
Hi, for parts of 26 years, I was married to an elder on Pioneer. So I felt like I had the respect of the elders in the congregation, although behind the scenes I was undergoing domestic violence.
Yeah.
It was always downplayed, minimized, made me feel like I might be causing it. Finally, right before my exit, I had a confession from my husband. I had witnesses. We all went to the elders, and they told me they were not going to do anything about it. That they were just going to literally brush it under the rug because my husband at the time was doing well and they wanted him to stay on their body. I felt unheard, unseen, helpless, traumatized, and that's what made me decide to look into the organization.
Good for you. See how that feels, the difference? Taking a stand for yourself. It feels amazing. The control. It hurt and wounded a lot of people. I'm going to go into a little bit of this, something that I put together. And at the very end of this, there'll be a link. You guys can go in. I'd really love for you to take a journal. I'm really big about writing. I'm really big about writing love stories to myself about the way it should have been. People always come to me and ask me, you've been through so much happened to you, so much happened to all of you too. We all have a story here. But it's like, what are you going to do with it? Like, I wanted nothing more in this whole entire world to be past all that. I knew it wasn't my fault. I didn't do anything wrong. So I wanted to be a part of one of those to come out and watch everybody grow together, intentionally. So the power of intentional healing, creating freedom from childhood trauma and doing it on purpose. I'm doing it because I want to. I'm doing it because it feels better. There is, this is a little tricky with all this. Sorry. Okay, apologize. I really wanted to be able to share with you guys personally some of the things that I've done in my life that's changed my life and my story. Because I get to do that. I get to change my story. I get to put myself where I want to be to feel healthy and happy. Healthy friendships. It took me years digging for answers. It wasn't easy. I always call it this journey. You know, it's like you spend your whole entire life going through it. It's going to take a hot minute getting out of it. It's not just like, oh, snap, I'm going to go to a couple of ex-Jehovah's Witness meetups and I'm going to be better. But what we can do here is this journey of healing together on purpose because we want to be our best versions of ourselves. And we can do that together. I want to share a little bit with you about how I diffused the effects of what somebody else did to me. When you understand what someone did to you, that it had nothing to do with you, what happens is we hold on to that energy. So I held on to the energy of my sexual abuser for a long, long time. He actually made me sick. Is there anybody out there that has felt like that they have gone through so much pain of being unheard, devalued, all of these things that happens where you feel like it's literally made you sick, physically sick, arthritis, autoimmune, addiction, all different things that can come in and happen when we don't get a safe place to share our story and to be protected around it. You want? So my thing is I want to be able to diffuse it. I can do that. I can diffuse it, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. Also understanding shame and fear and guilt. You sound familiar here? How do they use shame, fear, and guilt to control us? Because isn't that what it all is? It's all about shame, fear, and guilt. It all is the same in the head. It all feels the same. And it's all created to do what? Control. To control you, what you do, what you say, where you go, who you hang out with. You got something to say?
Control and break you down even further.
Yeah. You're right. Understanding the power of forgiveness, because I always want to keep it positive. The power of forgiveness, right? That's your gift to you. That is the best gift in this. If that's all I could say today that has helped me with everything, is my gift is forgiving everybody who hurt me. It had nothing to do with me. If you guys get an opportunity to get a journal for me, I'd love to hear some of your stories one day. Is to write love stories to yourself. You're going to think this sounds really corny. This helped me. My life was taken from me as a child. I had no childhood. It wasn't my fault. How can I fix it? So I started writing love stories to myself, the way I should have been treated. How they should have treated me, shown up for me, heard me, valued me, got me help when I asked for it. They didn't do it for me. I did it for me. And every one of you can do it for you. If you can take anything when you walk away from this today, that self-love that's way beyond anything that they tried to take from you. Can you play the, go back out and play the third on that, please? Oh, yeah. What's that breed? Two witness rule? What do you think that breeds? Not even just for me, right? That's not just me, because thousands of messages, of kite tales, of these kind of stories where no one believed them. Does that breed a strong, happy person? Or does that breed somebody that is being controlled to keep them down doing what they want them to do? I want people to get out of the Circle 8, going round and around and around and around and going nowhere. No more Circle 8s. We're going in a straight line forward out of this. We owe it to ourselves. How long are we here for? 50 years, 60 years? I'm 54. 70 years, 80 years? Whoever, how long we're here for? Let's make it good moving forward. We owe it to ourselves. Why are we here? I know we all have a shared journey. Sharing and healing together is way more powerful as long as we keep it positive. We all know the truth about the facts about the truth, however you want to say it. We know it was wrong. We want to feel enlightened, to walk away from here and try something different. People always ask me, I hear it all the time, how are you okay going through that and losing your childhood and being treated like that? Because I wanted it more than anything in the world. Every one of us has a story. I know all of you out there have a story. And I know that those stories have pain. It's real. I'm not discrediting that. I can't even imagine the tears you've cried, being duped, being lied to, being devalued, unheard, going for help and not getting it, having to swallow that and live that way. The nice thing about it is we have the power to change it. Planting seeds of peace. What feels better? I know for me, when I like to create things to make me feel like I'm blooming, I'm blossoming, I'm happy. I don't want to be there no more. And I want to take y'all with me. It wasn't easy though. And I want you guys to know that it's not easy. Because you gotta want it more than anything in the whole world. I want you to be able to learn how to start planting this garden within yourself of this beautiful peace, that you are enough. And I would all like to consider you all my friend, all my friends.
We're your family, Theodore.
Healing is a very grand gesture. Small things. I'm going to keep reiterating this to you guys because I want you to walk away from here and I want you to get yourself a really pretty journal. Guy and girl, I don't care. I want you to start writing love stories to yourself, the way you should have been treated. People always asking me, what'd you do? That's what I did. And I researched and I researched and I researched and I researched because it made sense. And I liked the way it made me feel, so I kept going with it. Diffusing the effects. Do you know how to diffuse the effects? It's easy. We were exposed to a lie. It was a lie. Yeah, it's kind of hard to swallow thinking I grew up my whole entire life in a lie. But now that I know it's a lie, I'm going to do something different. Because I got my whole life ahead of me to make it amazing and turn that lie into power and freedom and true friendship. These techniques I created changed everything for my healing. And I hope I can help you change yours too. staying true to yourself, staying connected to yourself. Tommy told me earlier, reminded me, staying true to myself. I love it. Because we had our rights taken away. Does anybody even know what it feels like to truly be true to yourself? I'll tell you one thing, it feels a whole lot better than what we grew up in. I know, because I'm doing it. And I got that. And that man out there with that hat on, Eric, that's my guy. He supports me, he's pushed me to get up here and speak again. And just a little quick story, just a little bit about me in the last 3 years. I got COVID and it almost killed me. So I disappeared. And that's why you haven't seen me much. Won't get too much into the details, but it affected my brain and it affected it gave me vertigo. And I just don't have that, I have a lot of pressure in my head. So I didn't know if I could ever come and speak again. And he's the one that pushed me. Yeah. Light bulb moments, right? The ones that make you think. Reclaiming your presence here. They didn't see us coming. Because we're going to be bigger and better than them. We get to take the power of breaking up with them. Is there another? Oh, go ahead and play this one. Tell me time. Okay, thank you.
And I kept trying and I kept trying. I tried to tell them what was happening to me. And I was told for years that we can't help you. But you're going into these big people thinking they're going to protect you, that they're going to help you, and they're going to make it better. And basically, they don't do anything. You feel alone, you know, and you don't feel validated, and you feel like you got to question everything you think and feel because you went to authorities that you believed they told you they would help you, and they didn't. It got to the point of being shut down so many times that your words don't matter, they don't mean anything. I'm to the point where it's like, I've begged, I've tried, I've cried, I've screamed. I've done everything in my power with so many elders to help me. And they were all like talking to brick walls. And I kept wondering why. Okay. I love you. Me too. Be good. Today I'm going to go meet Barb Anderson, who's a big critic of the.
These are just little pieces of the movie who haven't seen it. It's on, if there's two, it's in the premiere, Colts and Extreme Beliefs, 2 and 8. I did the 2 shows there. If you want to see all that. They're just little blips to show you, just reminders. It's not to make you sad. I ain't sad. I guess it's my purpose for all that to happen, I guess. How do I make it positive? How do I make lemonade out of limes? That. So those light bulb moments, we talk about some of this stuff and the power of your voice and your undeniable worth. Creating an inner spotlight for yourself. What's that feel like? An inner spotlight. I have terrible stage fright. Holding on to this thing. No, I'm just kidding. It's not, I mean, I love to speak and everything, but you know, you have to go beyond yourself sometimes. And the love is bigger. My love is bigger than my stage fright. You are seen here and you're heard here. The lens of perception, how might shifting your focus from being ignored to being and choosing to empower yourself Like those elders that ignored me and ignored me and ignored me. I probably went to 30 of them as a little girl, showing up thinking this one's going to help me, this one's going to help me, this one's going to help me, maybe this one will help me. I went to different congregations in different states for years, and no one would help me. They were all like talking to brick walls. But you know what? I could help me. And I did. I helped myself. I got out. I'm here talking to you. I'm happy. And I hope that maybe I can help you too. Creating your own echo, your own self, again, outside of being Jehovah's Witnesses and losing your rights. We have rights again. For me, it's like when I wrote my letter and I went to Warwick and I broke up with them. It was the best feeling in the world. I think there's one more. Is that the next one? It was the best feeling in the world because I got to be in control. I got to break up with them. There was no more power. Power's gone. Just like that. It's all in how you think of it. Our thoughts are everything. Those little things that go on back here, make them good, because we are our thoughts. I don't have a lot of time left. Did you want to say something? Okay. I'm like, okay. I'm trying to find one more thing I want to share with you. Breaking free from shame's grip. I write about this in my book. I am writing a book, and I apologize. I fell off the earth because I got COVID, and I got really sick. Still not the same, but I'm trying to come back. In my book that I'm trying to create, I write something on breaking free from shame. Reclaiming your wholeness. Compassion and courageous actions are antidotes to shame. Do you know what antidote is? Do you know what an antidote is? It's a remedy that heals you. It's already sounding better. The damage of silence. How has shame kept you silent, hidden, or prevented you from pursuing your authentic desires and connections? Reclaiming your wholeness, challenging the narrative, and compassion as your antidote. I want to let somebody else get back up here. I wanted to go into a little bit more details on forgiving and the power of forgiving. So what we're going to do is go ahead and pull all this stuff up. I created this for you. I wasn't sure how this was going to go. This is a little bit complicated because I don't have two computers to hit my own, what I'm seeing compared to what they're seeing, you're seeing. At the very, very end of this is a link. We'll take you to these questions. These are some of the things that saved my life. I would love to share that with you. So when you get to the very, very end of this, right there, that link over there on the end, on that side, will take you to all of those slides. Get a journal, write to yourself. That'll make me happy. The other one up there to the right is a donation. If I helped you and you want to send a donation, you can do it there. I appreciate it. I know as witnesses they have a hard time asking for money. I'm not asking for money, but if you found this of value and you'd like to contribute, I'd like to keep this going and doing more presentations to help us all heal. Can you play the last little, or do you guys need more time? Are you okay? Wait. Oh, did you get it? You good? Hold on 1 second, she's still doing it. Then we'll play the last little bit there, and then somebody else come in. 707safe.com, 707safe.com is my website. I've got beautiful resources on there. I've talked to so many wonderful agencies, Salkin Law. I'm going to be working with another attorney. Anybody who's got questions, you can go on 707safe.com or romymaple.com. It takes you to the same spot. Register, say hello to me. Let me know you're writing to yourself. Let me know how you're feeling. Let's do this together. Go ahead. Has everybody got the link? We're good. If not, you can come to me after and I'll let you scan it off my phone. Go ahead and play the last little bit of the video. And
crisis of cover-up of the abuse, the sexual abuse of children that has been going on for decades. This case is now the 15th lawsuit we've been filing around the country to try to get to expose an organization that is more concerned about protecting its reputation than it is about protecting its children.
They showed the deviousness of the Watchtower. They protect pedophiles. They've been settling lawsuits, and that's how they kept this all secret. This had been going on forever. It's all interpretation from the Bible. Jehovah's Witnesses believe that they can settle problems between the members by obeying the scriptures. According to Jehovah's Witnesses translation, there is a scripture in Leviticus that
I want to let somebody else come up. You guys can watch this if you want to. This is a show 2 on cults and extreme beliefs if you want to see all this. There was a last little bit on the, yeah, you want to do that real fast? We can't do it fast. How are we on time? Are we? Huh? Am I okay? Go ahead and do it then.
Located. What's significant about this place is it's
How long did it take you to do the movie?
2 years. I won a 2-year contract, traveled 6 states with them. Changed my life. There's that power of invalid.
Consider Jehovah's Witnesses a cult? I do now, as an adult and understanding.
Well, what would you say to, to people watching this right now? The next time, there's a knock on the door and there's that lovely, warm, smart Jehovah's Witness.
I just now knowing what I know would never want to be associated or affiliated with anybody who protects sexual abusers that hurt children.
I just want people to know going in, this really is going on in here.
I'm sharing my painful story because I want the Jehovah's Witness to change. The stuff that's going on that I've seen, that's criminal. And I just want it to stop. It's not fair. It's not okay. And I understand the kind of people that Jehovah's Witnesses attracts. I get it. What that cult attracts. Vulnerable, lonely, people that need people. But be careful. That's all I have to say is be careful.
Thank you, everybody. I am Romy.
Well, we all love Romy. I mean, I'll tell you what, anyone exposing the Watchtower is a good friend of mine. And Romy really did a good job. I'll tell you, a lot of people saw that. And a lot of people left the organization because of that. I've heard a number of people left because of that film. So that's what we need. That's what we need, don't we? Huh? In fact, friends, I'll tell you what, I don't have a soft spot from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet for the Watchtower. They have done can you think of anything good? I bring this up on my radio programs many times. And, say, well, the ministry school was good, Rick. And I have to say that probably one of the better things. You know, they teach everyone to get up and how to preach in the ministry. So that's probably the only thing I can think of that has any real value. But anyways, they are a very dangerous and a destructive organization. And anyone exposing them, like I say, is a friend of mine. Well, you know, did you ever have a doubt? Did you ever doubt the Watchtower? Charles, are you here with us? Okay, he's here. Okay, in fact, we'll let the film crew just get their shot. But you know, in fact, a lot of people have doubted the Watchtower, and I have to say that Charles really got a runaround. He's going to tell you his story, and he came all the way up. His wife, of course, is supporting him. His wife never was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, so she married Charles. And Charles was a witness, but he had a very supportive wife. So that's very good that if you have someone who's going to support you, because I'm going to tell you something, it's very, very difficult. If you marry someone, you're a witness, and you marry someone that has no connection with them, there's going to be some issues because they're going to say, why don't you just get that stuff out of your head? You know, all you do is talk about the Watchtower. And that happens a lot, causes a lot of issues in marriages. But I know Charles' wife, I met her, she's not like that. She's a very kind, loving woman. So Charles, why don't you come up here and why don't you tell us, you know, you have doubts. We want to hear the runaround that these elders gave you, all right?
That one's not hot, but you can try taking that.
Oh, this one?
No, the one on the podium.
Oh.
The tape is over there.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
No, it won't come out.
Okay. Okay. Hey, well, good morning, everybody. My name is Charles Riley. I'm from Nassau County in Long Island. And I want to thank Rick and whoever, all the other people who arranged this. I think this is such a great convention. This is better than any convention that we ever went to. Better. This is a kind of convention. So like I said, my name is Charles Riley. I was a third generation witness, born into it. My family was deeply embedded in this organization, just like everybody else here. My grandparents were witnesses, and my paternal grandfather, my grandfather on my father's side, he actually claimed to be of the anointed. So he partook. He passed away in the 1960s. So we were deeply embedded in this. My father had become a pioneer in the 1940s. In fact, I still have magazines from the 1940s. They were really big and, you know, looked like big magazines. I have banners from the international conventions in the 60s at Yankee Stadium. So we were deeply embedded in this organization. We're from a family of 7 other brothers and sisters. So we were all brought up in this. And so my story is that I grew up in the Jamaica, Queens area, St. Albans, the Merritt congregation from the 1960s. That's when that congregation was formed. But it used to be Springfield, then we split, and then became Merritt congregation. So I grew up in the Merritt congregation. So all the family was very close. Everyone knew each other. Eventually, you know, as progression goes, you go along, you eventually become a ministerial servant. My father, though, going back to that, my father actually was in the first class when the new elder arrangement had been made, when they changed it from having one congregation servant and made a body of elders. My father was in that first class that did that. So he was an elder right from that time on up. We grew up in that congregation. Like I said, you go through that progression, you just, you know, it's all you know. Being a Jehovah's Witness was all I knew. I didn't know anything else. You know, you hear about churches, you know, see what they put in the publications about it. But all I do is being one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And I was just coasting along. I had no real ambitions in there or anything. I wasn't thinking about being an elder or anything like that. I just didn't, you know. I was just kind of coasting along, eventually become a ministerial servant. And then in about 1989, 1990, I was appointed as one of the elders. And it was a surprise to me, sitting in a meeting, the presiding overseer comes and taps me on the shoulder. "I'm going to talk to you." And he says to me, "You know, we want to appoint you as an elder tonight." "Oh, me?" I had no ambitions about that. But me? I really did not think of myself as a shepherd of the congregation. You know, I was a young married couple at that time, and we were just having fun, hanging out, going bowling, doing congregation things, going to picnics and things like that. So I wasn't trying to do that, to tell you the truth. And I said to him, I said, "Me?" And he said, "Well, yeah, the brothers, you know, we really thought that you know, would." And then I went back into the meeting and I told my then wife, I said, "Well, you know, he said, me, elder tonight. What do you think?" She said, "Okay," you know. So I went back out and I said, "Well, okay." And then they ask you that quintessential question: "Is there anything that we need to know?" And I said, "No." I didn't do anything. So you know, I was appointed an elder that night with 4 other brothers, and so you know, became one of the elders. Now, around this same time, a family moved in from Brooklyn, the Jenkins family. Father's name was George Jenkins. Now, him and his sons were very ambitious. They wanted to come in there and take power. So what happened was that we got into a building program. We built a new Kingdom Hall. The congregation was told that we had to split by the circuit overseer. And so now George Jenkins sees his opportunity to get that power because our other presiding overseer decided to go to the new congregation. And the other brothers on the body of elders, we had about 12, but most of them were lazy. They just liked being called an elder, you know, and all that. So they weren't trying to take any more work. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Stand right here, stand right here. Talk right into it. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Try not to.
Oh, yeah. So now the new congregation, when we split, this George Jenkins, who was a tyrant, he becomes the presiding overseer. And I'm a young elder, so you know, I'm just kind of, you know, I wasn't going to try to be a presiding overseer, you know. So, so he's a tyrant. And now what happened was what precipitated my leaving is this case. There was a brother in our congregation. His name was Wally. His wife's name was Denise. They had, you know, they were one of those kind of couples, you know, you have things going on, problems, this and that. So one night he went to a bar, he met a lady, and it was a one-night stand. From that, the lady became pregnant. Now, he was from a prominent family. It was Butler. That was the name of the family. So what happened was his wife, Denise, did not decide to divorce him. But he told her, well, there's a pregnancy coming from you. And she still did not. And I know one of the reasons was because we were all close friends. We all hung out together. So she didn't because they didn't have any children together. So now what happens is as the years going by, his son, now he's taking care of his son. He's, you know, visiting his son, you know, with the mother, and Denise would go with him. And he's giving her money, support money. He was doing that because his family would not stand for him not taking care of his child. You know, his father was at that, no, you got to take care of your son. So he was doing that. So now, as the years go by, now he wants to bring his child around. He wants to raise him as a Jehovah's Witness. Now, that's when a lot of problems actually started because since they didn't have children, she's thinking, his wife is thinking, wait a minute,
you start bringing him around, people are going to wonder, wait, where'd he come from? Because they knew that they had no children together. So this is causing problems. I'm on the body of elders. They come to us and they talk about this is the problem. Now, the body of elders, they were totally against him. They said, well, this is all your fault because of what you did. But the fact is that she decided to forgive him and not divorce him. So they're blaming him. They're taking away his privileges in the congregation. There was even an incident where, and the circuit overseer was against him too. I was really the only one who was for him because he's taking care of his son like he should. So there was an incident where we went to a circuit assembly. He had actually been assigned to be one of the attendants. And when the circuit overseer saw him as an attendant at the assembly, he told the overseer of the attendant, so you got to take him off. So that was a whole big thing. So in the middle of the assembly, that circuit assembly, he was told you can't serve as an attendant simply because of what was going on in that situation. His wife, Denise, she had been speaking to circuit overseers in the area. One of them, his name was George Black, another tyrant. Okay, and he said to her, illegitimate children have no hope. A circuit overseer actually told her that, and she told me that when we worked out in service, because she was talking to me about the problem, and she said, well, circuit overseer, an illegitimate child, I mean, who's really illegitimate? Okay, come on. Has no hope. Ridiculous. But this is what a circuit overseer told her. So Denise was, of course, very angry about the situation. So this situation just snowballed into more and more trouble. I'm defending him. In June of 1995, it got to the point where I said, well, I'm going to write a letter to society about this. So while he said to me, okay, Charles, and whatever they say, we'll go by. I was fine with that. Okay. I wrote a letter to society. In that letter, I detailed how in a 1982 questions from reader, the same situation was asked. And it was from the other side though. If a brother in the congregation, if a woman in the congregation committed adultery and she became pregnant, but her husband forgave her, but now the husband is saying, no, I don't like this. This is not a good situation. Is he right to do that? In that question from reader, the society had said, well, he knew that she was pregnant. He accepted her back. And obviously, since she's pregnant with this child, she's going to be bringing that child into their home, obviously, because she's the mother. So they answered me back and said, actually, that I was correct. You have to apply that in both ways. You can't apply it in one way and not into another way, which is what I was thinking. That would be hypocritical. So even though it took them 3 months, okay, to get back to me, they actually wrote back and said that I was correct, and that's the way that should be viewed, even though this is from the perspective of a husband who has a child outside of marriage. So now the elders, they were livid with me. In fact, when that letter came back, because when you write to the society, all the elders know. And I knew that because I was an elder. So they got a copy of the letter. They were livid with me. And they had me in the back room yelling at me when they got that letter, saying I'm rebellious and all types of things. They were just livid. And George Jenkins, who was the tyrant in the congregation, me and him, we just butted heads. So after that, the years went by, and it's just more and more stuff going on. He was treating people in the congregation very badly. They would even complain to me. They felt that actually that I was just one of the few that they could talk to because he was a tyrant. Another instance that he did, just to show you how he is, there was a supermarket out there in Rochdale, Queens, that everybody went to. There was a single sister who was one day, she was shopping. It was raining, but she didn't have a way to get back home. She, I guess, went there by cab. He was there. She asked him for a ride, and he just refused. He had room in his car and everything. This is one of the things that was complained to me about him. But this is what he did. So this is the kind of person that he was. Me and him butted heads all the time. So it got to the point where things just snowballed and snowballed to where the elders, like I said, we had a body of elders of about 12. And most of them were, like I said, they were the older ones, older than me, kind of like contemporaries of my father when he was there. And they were just lazy. They didn't want to, fight for what was right or nothing. So I fought for what was right. That's what I thought we were supposed to do. That's just, So what happened was, since me and him continued to butt heads and we're going at it with each other, he had a secret meeting with the other body, with the rest of the elders at his house where they decided they were going to remove me. Now, I hadn't done anything except stand up for the congregation. And anyone here who's been an elder, and everyone here knows that that's what you expect the elders to do, no matter what type of situation it is. So at our meeting was on Wednesday night. So, after the meeting, how elders have a elders meeting to plan and all that. So we go into the back room and we have our usual elders meeting. And I got blindsided because I didn't know what they were planning. So George Jenkins says to me, Brother Riley, we're writing a letter to the society to have you removed. So that just took me by surprise. And I said, well, what is the reason? And they all said, we're not going to discuss it with you. Now, the elders have a 1992 letter which reiterates the fact that if you're going to remove anyone, ministerial servant or elder, you are supposed to discuss it with them. They're going right against the society's own direction. Okay, so they said, we're not going to discuss it with you. But I said, you have to. I need to know why you're removing me. We're not going to discuss it with you. That's what they said, led by this presiding overseer, George Jenkins. So they wrote a letter. I said, I'm fighting this. I didn't do anything wrong. So that night coming home from the meeting, I let my brother and sister, my brother Chris and my sister Cheryl, one of them know because we were all in the same congregation still. And they said, oh, no, this is wrong. No, I said, you guys don't got to get involved. They said, no, we are going to get involved. So I wrote back to the society. Okay. I wrote back to the society 63 pages worth of letters using their own literature, the flock book, information in that, how the elders were going against their direction, all that, and heard nothing. So I kept pushing and pushing. My brother and sister, they pushed. They were calling society. They were, my sister was faxing letters to the governing body. And we didn't know that the governing body was actually protected. Like, they try to keep you from getting to them. And this is in the late 90s when this happened, actually 1998. So we're trying to we figured that if we can get to the governing body, yeah, they'll definitely correct the situation. Absolutely. Naive. Okay. We did not know what was really going on. And so we're writing, we're faxing. Me and my brother even went down to Bethel on 2 occasions and demanded to see a governing body member. One of them, we went to the Bethel Kingdom Hall, and we knew that there would be some governing body members there. So we went there on a Sunday, and Lyman Swingle was there. So we said, okay, we're going to talk to Lyman Swingle after the meeting's over, after people clear out. So we waited till the meeting was over. We walked up to him, and we addressed ourselves, we introduced ourselves, and we're trying to tell him what was going on, the different corruption that was going on in the congregation. And he says to us, yelling, you can't come in here and talk to me about this. Get out of here. Lyman Swingle. During this time also, we went to the headquarters again. We demanded to see a governing body member. And they sent, after half an hour, they sent down Samuel Hurd. So we talked to him for half an hour, describing to him everything that's going on, how they're going against their own direction. This is what he said at the end. We just chalk it up to imperfection. This is all he said. We walked out of there. This is in Brooklyn Heights, of course, when they were still there. We're on the promenade looking over the water. We like, what the heck is going on here? And I can tell you, all the Watchtower officials and government that we spoke to by phone or in person or by fax was this: Theodore Jarvis, Milton Henschel, Max Larson, Daniel Sidlick, Samuel Hurd, Albert Schroeder, Lyman Swingle. Other Watchtower officials that we spoke to in one way or the other, phone or in person: David Sinclair, J.R. Palacia, Harley Miller from the service department, J.R. Brown, and Robert Pevy. None of them paid attention to us. These are high Watchtower officials and governing body members. And I found out there were people who had heard about my case because we were really pushing. In fact, we were told that the Riley name was getting well known up there. So my sister Cheryl spoke to Theodore Jarvis by phone. And what he told her, the way he reacted in such an evil, uncaring way, she said to herself then, this organization is not going to know any good. I spoke to Theodore Jarvis by phone, personally, and he just shoved it off. I spoke to Daniel Sidlick by phone 2 times. First time he said, I'm going to give this to the people that take care of this. All right. Then I called him again a couple of weeks ago because I hadn't heard from him. And I said, well, Brother Sidlick, what happened with it? I said, who did you give it to? Oh, I gave it to the service department. Theodore Jarvis, the evil boss, leader of the service, he was the one you gave it to. Theodore Jarvis, I found out, was the main person who shut me down. Because you can't doubt the Watchtower, okay, and show that you're thinking for yourself and them exonerate you. They're just not going to do it because it's a corporation. And this is what we're starting to find out. This is Dr. Mahicon. In fact, so these are the people that we spoke to. And what happened was this ended up in December of 2000. This was a 2-year fight. Now, just one other point, in between there, since I was threatening to sue them, because now my name, I'm being called an apostate in the area and everything. So my name is being defamed. In fact, a sister that I knew, I saw her one time in Penn Station. She was coming from down south by train, and I spoke to her, and she said, yeah, I was in Virginia, and I mentioned your name to one of my friends down there, and she said to me, oh, Charles the Apostate? As far as Virginia. So my name is being defamed. I said, I'm going to sue them. I was calling them, saying, I'm going to sue you if you don't do something about this. After a few months, they finally sent an investigation committee composed of a couple of brothers. One was Quinn Harrison, and the other one was this guy named Lee Rambo. A 3-month investigation in which they interviewed 30 of my witnesses from the congregation who spoke up for me and told them, Charles is the only one that we can go to. This is wrong. He should not be removed. He didn't do anything. 30 people. And I was at each one of these meetings where we did this investigation, and they would come in. It was like a trial. Like you go to a trial and your witnesses come up, and they said these things every single time. And at the end of this investigation, which took 3 months, Lee Rambo and Quinn Harrison said, well, we're not going to change our decision. And they said to me also, if you continue to pursue this, we're going to disfellowship you. So I said, well, I'm not stopping, and I didn't stop. It ended up, I know I got to go down. It ended up in a 4-hour meeting in December of 2000 with J.R. Brown, Watchtower spokesman, and Robert Pevy. 4-hour meeting with myself, my brother Chris, and my sister Cheryl. And we told them everything that was happening. They listened for 4 hours. And at the end of it, J.R. Brown said to me, well, Brother Riley, you were railroaded. He actually said it. He said, you were railroaded. And then he came with this cryptic thing where he said, but are you the one? Now, I don't know trying to make me think of Neo from the Matrix or something. So, but this is what he said. I guess he was mocking me, but he said I was real. So then, after that meeting in December 2000, you wait for the letter to come with the decision. And the decision, it was just one of those form letters with, mysterious initials that say, well, Brother Riley, you met with our officials, and we advise you to stay faithful to Jehovah. Go back, 10 meetings, go out in field service, and just stay faithful to Jehovah, but we are not reversing the decision. After that, bye, I'm done. Because it told me that this organization does not care about us. It doesn't care about justice, not at all. It doesn't care about doing what's right. And I just said it took all that for me to see it. But you know what? It was the best decision in my life. And one other point, when all of us have gone through things, but if what I'm going to read to you in this letter, if this is what it helps to do, it's all worth it. This is what I got on a Facebook Messenger in July of 2022. Now, my situation happened 25 years ago. Good morning, Mr. Riley. I'm pretty sure you don't know me, but I'm somewhat familiar with your family. My family attended the Merit congregation, and I attended with them as a small child from time to time. I eventually became a JW as a teen and even progressed to being an elder in my mid-20s at Merit, which was my congregation, eventually going to Hillside English. Long story short, my wife and I left the organization a few years ago, and I'm sure you would be familiar with her family as well, as they were in Sayers and other local congregations. I often remember hearing people talk badly about you, but I remember thinking in the back of my head that you must have had reason to leave the organization, because most people who were deeply involved don't just up and leave for no reason. In a small way, the courage you had to leave played a part in my leaving and advocacy against the JWs. He is an advocate against them right now. I just happened to see your comment on a post of a mutual friend of ours, and I just wanted to reach out and say thank you. Now, I'm just going to give you a quick background. This man, Matt, he was a child when I was an elder in that congregation. I barely even knew him because he would come sometimes with his grandmother, usually. So I barely knew him, but he was a child in the 90s while I was an elder. I was an elder for 10 years. So after I left, he grew up in there, became an elder with the same elders who did me wrong. Okay. But like he said, he started seeing things, and the courage that he said I had to leave played a part in his leaving. If we could have that effect, no matter what happened to us, if it helps somebody to see something, it's all worth it. And that's why I'm glad I'm here today, because that's what I see with everybody's story. Everybody's story has an effect on somebody, and you never know. This was years later. I mean, I left in 2000. He was an elder up until like 2018, when he left. So 18 years later, someone who was a child says, I'm glad you did what you did, because I'm out now. So we have power. And the fact that we're here, it's not because we didn't live up to their standards. They didn't live up to our standards. We're higher than theirs. So I wanted to share this story. Hopefully it will encourage somebody, like everyone's story is. We have the power, not them.
Thank you, Charles. We have an extra special guest right now. Our speaker who was supposed to be on now, we're going to put on after lunch so that we give him the proper amount of time to speak. Can we turn the little hunt here? Okay, yeah, it'll ring now. Anne Marie is here. Anne Marie comes from California, and she was stuck in Chicago. And we were trying to scheme and trying to find out how do we get her here. I thought about this poor woman. I don't even know her, but I thought about her all night. I'm thinking, how is she going to get here? Is she sleeping in the airport? How is she going to get here? Well, she walked in today and she's here and she's going to give us a few words.
Sir, I wasn't sleeping. I make friends with every.
You just came in my pool.
Ay, Dios mío. Okay. Oh, people, the fact that we are here is because we're free. There is a word.
1 second, I'm gonna give you a mic.
He's going to give me a mic.
I'm gonna give you a roving mic.
That might be a mistake.
You know,
Yes, brother.
yeah, we're gonna bring it out to you here.
What?
Because they can't see it.
He just said I'm short.
Okay, just give us a second.
We knew that.
Just one moment. We're gonna make
Yeah.
it so that you can hold this.
Oh, they can hear me. You know my favorite four-letter word in the whole world?
Wait for the mic. Yes, mic.
F word.
No, don't say that.
No, I do say it. My favorite letter in the whole world
Just
is
one?
the F word, and it's the four-letter word called free.
Oh, amen.
Free. I know what it is to be free. I can do this, I can do this, and I can say what I want to say because nobody is going to keep this little fat mouth down again and tell me that I'm a mentally diseased. No, it's actually because I'm intelligent, and it's actually because I have brain cells between these ears, and Watchtower does not like brain cells that work. Watchtower likes them little brain cells that say, okay, I know I'm a properly programmed drone, and I'm proud that I stay in my programming. I am properly indoctrinated. I fulfill every indoctrinated thing. I don't know what the hell for or what I'm doing, but I'm a good Jehovah's Witness. And by the way, if you get drunk when you're a Jehovah's Witness, who's going to notice? You look stupid anyway. I love the four-letter word free, 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 free. And then when I started studying the Bible, I went, wait a minute. Wait. I love the concordance from the Watchtower. Yes, I do. I love it. That's where I learned that there are two good news. All I ever heard was good news of kingdom, good news of kingdom, good news of kingdom, good news of kingdom. But nobody ever told me what the hell the good news of the kingdom were. Yeah, it is hell. I ain't ashamed to say it. I'll knock on a door. I'm faithful. I'm a good Jehovah's Witness. I'd argue with anybody and everybody at first grade, second grade, third grade. I didn't get too bad in kindergarten, but in first, second, third, fourth, I got in trouble. I got in trouble with everybody because I was preaching. Why? Because I was believing. Why? Because I was indoctrinated. Why? Because I let them take over my brain cells, and I thought I was a good Jehovah's Witness. What I was an idiot. But when you're an idiot, you don't really notice. They notice, but you don't notice. But when I got into the concordance after I left Watchtower, I ran across good news about the Christ. I was like, what? Excuse me? Wait a minute. Good news about the kingdom. I used to go preaching about the good news of the kingdom, and I'm thinking in the back of my mind, because I'm looking at these happy people, behind the door, nice smell on a Saturday morning. I hear bacon crackling. I can smell those pancakes. I see those sweet little babies in their jammies on the floor, on the little blankets and their pillows. They're watching Saturday morning cartoons, and Daddy's sitting in his Barca lounger, listening to the paper and listening to the happy kids and listening to the crackling of that bacon. And the nice little housewife comes to the door with her nice little apron, and I could just barely kind of surreptitiously get a peek around the corner. Ooh, the table is festive looking. And what do I have? Nothing. But I'm there to tell them the good news. What's the good news? And I thought about it. What exactly is the good news? Well, I don't know about you all, but you know what the good news is? You got to give up Christmas, give up your happy. You don't have time to have Saturday morning cartoons or the crackling bacon with the pancakes and the whole thing, and that happy, relaxed Saturday morning feel. You don't get to have that because you better be putting Jehovah first. Oh, hello. I told you don't give me the mic. Don't give me the mic. Ooh, that sounded different. I'm sorry I haven't slept in 3 days. And somebody was nice enough to give me wine because I was crying in the middle of the airport. The whole everybody in that whole Chicago airport knew who I was. Oh yeah, I know she was having a nervous breakdown right in front of everybody. Somebody gave me that. But anyway, I'm thinking, what is the good news? If they actually listen like my mother did, my beautiful, beautiful, smart, barely on the cusp of being a bona fide genius. Oakland Times, Oakland Tribune hired her to be a proofreader because she was so brilliant. And I'm thinking, what is the good news? You don't get to do anything. You don't get to go to school. You don't get to have those pancakes and Saturday morning cartoons and the crackling bacon. How is that good news? Oh, wait, there's more. There's nothing to do with freedom in Watchtower. And I'm thinking, I don't get it. And I'm thinking, so the good news is that you give up everything, join this organization, which is serving Jehovah, become an indoctrinated, fully programmed drone. And part of the programming is you program your own children, right? They don't do it for you. You have to do it. And if they don't live up to expectations, if you are not a completely, properly conforming and performing Jehovah's Witness, properly obeying, believing, serving, donating, teaching, recruiting, and kissing those brother, you know who's that think they're so nice. You gotta worship the elders, but you can't call it worship. You just have to respect the elders. We don't say worship. We have to oh, you can't say that either. Invite them to dinner. Oh, you can say that. Now make sure that you tell them how much you appreciate them. And that's not worship. But the bottom line is, I'm thinking at that door, smelling that crackling bacon and listening to the morning cartoons. And I know those pancakes are just sitting there waiting for me. Oh, well, they're not mine. I got to serve Jehovah. How is it that if I actually succeed in getting these people to listen and they take the magazines, which they always did because I was really cute, but what if they actually get into this thing? And what if they actually join? They're going to lose everything that I wished I had. And I'm like, I can't think that way. I'm 9 years old. I'm mature enough to know better. So I was a good Jehovah's Witness. I really was. Didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I was good at it. So one day after I come out of the organization, I look up in the concordance. Maybe I have this good news all wrong. And I'm looking up good news. And I see Jehovah. What? 5 minutes. I can say it in 5 minutes. I found out there was another good news. And it was all connected to Jesus Christ. Freedom in Christ. John 8. Can I say it? Is this like a no preach zone? I'm not trying to preach, but when I found in my own Watchtower Bible, John 8:12, I am the light of the world. He who walks with me shall not walk in darkness, but will possess the light of life. I'm like, who the hell said that? I didn't know that was there. Oh, and just a little bit over in the next page, John 8, 32, 31, 32, and 36. If you remain in my word, you really are my disciples, and you will know the truth. And the truth will set you free. And then in verse 36, therefore, if the Son has set you free, you will be actually free. Oh, I found that four-letter F word again. Free. Well, wait a second. Free? Christ, freedom, Christ, remain in me, freedom. They never taught me that. So I found the one clincher to show every Jehovah's Witness, hello, you're a watchtower, right? You never served Jehovah a day in your life unless you really know you're serving the devil. 2 Corinthians 3:17. Now Jehovah is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of Jehovah is, there is freedom. There ain't no freedom in no kind of way in the watchtower. So therefore, you know Jehovah's Spirit isn't there. So therefore, honey, you serve the devil. Thank you. No, I don't know what I'm doing. Thank you.
Yeah, don't go the way I am.
Oh, it's the wine. It's the wine. Oh, thank you. I love the four-letter F word.
You did great, Anna Marie.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you, if you want to hear more of Anne Marie, she has a program. She has two programs on our network. You can hear Anne Marie every other Saturday night. She's on our program at 6 o'clock. And she gets callers from all over the world, and she does a fine job. And she also has a program on Sunday at 1 o'clock. Actually, no, it's 3 o'clock on our network. And what she does there is former Jehovah's Witnesses call in and they say how they were treated in the watchtower, very much like you here today. So we love Anne Marie. She's been a real faithful trooper. I'm so glad we got her back. We were all concerned about it, but we got her back. I went down to Southwest Airlines this morning, went down at 6 o'clock this morning, and I had where is Larry? There he is. Okay, Larry drove me down because this is Larry going to have a hard time parking. So he parked there. He wasn't kicked out of there by the state troopers. But if that was Friday, he would have been. But anyways, I said, just stay here. I went and looked at Anne Marie. Nobody knew anything. I went through the whole Southwest terminal. I saw one person sleeping with a blanket. I thought that might have been you, but it wasn't. So I said, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. So then we found out that she didn't, I don't know if she mentioned to you or not, but she didn't have her phone. She left it back in California. So there was no way to get a hold of her. So, but she's here. So anyways, we're glad she's with us. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to have lunch right now. Generally, it was going to be at 3:30, at 12:30, but we're going to stop it here because we got some issues with us, was it Streamline? Yeah, we got some issues with our StreamYard. So we can fix that. So we can go to lunch right now. And then what time are we going to come back? Maybe we can come back a little early. Why don't we get back at, let's see, it's 12:10. To try to make it back by 1 o'clock. Okay. 1:30? You want more time? Okay. 1:30. It's just we're going to run into some serious trouble tonight because we have some really good speakers this afternoon. And we got a Power State's got talent. It's going to really juggle things around. Okay, let's go. Let's make it 1:30 then. We'll make it 1:30. Yep. Okay.
Okay, I think you can hear me now. We're having some technical difficulties here, but we're going to shut down the live stream. We'll start up a new one after lunch, and it should be working on Facebook and YouTube both. We had a battery die. That's why the camera shut off. So we're going to get all that fixed, and then we'll come back in the afternoon. Hope you can join us. Tell your friends. I'm Scott. This is my wife, Nadine, for those of you who don't know her, sitting here with me in the AV booth, which is really just a table. It's not much of a booth.
But we have Doug next to me, who's
Yeah.
being really good on the sound.
There's
So-
Doug's hand.
Yeah.
You've seen Doug sitting in his chair beside the stage. So it's somewhat of guerrilla filmmaking or convention broadcasting, but we're getting it done. And I see your comments. I appreciate everything you guys say. We'll see you after lunch. Bye bye.